Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
What else can we say about Giannis? I know I keep saying that, I feel like, but then he always finds something that, like, oh, he first to do that, or etches his name in history again, and then 35, 20 assists, and 17 rebounds for the Greek Freak last night. First to ever have a line like that. He's the third to join the Joker and Wilt to have a 30-20-15 line, but those two had 20 rebounds. Giannis had to be a little different and do 20 assists.
He was sharing.
I mean, I don't care if you're not an NBA fan or you're not the biggest Bucks fan, but you're a Wisconsin sports fan. Get on this and start not taking this for granted. What we're seeing from Giannis, from the Greek Freak. I mean, this is some special. And I would, you talked about Freddie Peralta the other, having one of his best starts. Giannis had a lot of great games. Statistically, this might be one of his best ones.
Yes.
But even this season overall, when you look at it, and not just the numbers, but his game overall, for the longest time, everybody said, well, if he could develop a jumper, if he could do this. He has developed a jumper this year that I think has gone unnoticed. Even, if it's a mid-range pull-up or a little turnaround, he has developed that this year, and I still feel like he's not getting talked about enough from a national sense. Joker, obviously, and Gilgeous-Alexander, but what Giannis is doing this year is pretty dang fantastic.
It is, and at some point, unless you're that elite, unless you're someone like LeBron, you almost have media fatigue with certain people that are really good, where they'll talk about you for a while, and then you just I think you said it well. You kind of take it for granted that he's just Giannis is just gonna he has a certain level he's established every year of what he's gonna do, so then you just come to expect it, and then when he does a little bit more, it's like you should probably be getting a little bit more attention, but there's other things going on, and obviously right now the Bucks are not viewed as a contender.
Which is disappointing because we're having this great season with Giannis.
Yeah, here's the thing: if they didn't have Giannis, where would they be? Yeah,
to me, which is part of a definition of an MVP,
right?
And you could say that for a lot of players, and that's why it can be a little hard. But it sounds like positive news with Damian. Doc Rivers yesterday said, they feel a lot better than what they were 3 days ago. I mean, it's trending in this direction that maybe we're going to see him in the postseason. And remember, next week, Bobby Portis is eligible to come back, too.
Yeah.
So
he'll get a few games in there, hopefully, to kind of, knock the rust off.
And they moved up to the 5th spot with that win last night. They're tied with the Pistons, but they hold the tiebreaker as of now, and they play the Pistons in the final 2 games of the year. 5th spot is the difference from potentially going on the road to face the Pacers, or 6 would be going on the road to face the Knicks, unless the Bucks could catch the Pacers, because they do hold that tiebreaker at this point. And Pacers play the Cavs twice, but who knows if the Cavs by that time might be resting guys, so it'd be a little bit different. But there's a little scoreboard watching to be paying attention to here. But I mean, obviously this Bucks team would be a whole lot different if Dame does come back for the postseason, and of course if Bobby Portis is, when he does come back, it'll be different. But is it enough to make a run?
That's the thing. We don't know. We don't know how much are we going to be able to take away out of those last few games, because again, we don't know how much they're going to count. So, but I mean, it is good just to get positive news, because last few weeks haven't been roundly positive for not necessarily Giannis, but for the Bucks.
Right. And Pacers, even if I don't know who you'd rather play, Knicks or Pacers, I'd probably still want to play the Pacers. Still make me nervous. I wouldn't feel uber confident about it.
You're not saying, I want them to play this team because they're just going to run them out of the building. No, either way, that's a darn tough matchup.
And that's honestly a series that I could see easily going 7, because I still believe those are the 2 teams that, when you look at their home and away records, they're the only 2 in the top 6 that have losing records on the road. And it's like, well, that's just a recipe of a 7-game series.
Right. That's one where the home team wins 6 of the 7, and if whichever road team wins a game away from home, that might be the difference.
Exactly. So, fingers crossed that Dame, if he does happen to come back, I mean, that's a huge boost. But again, we got to tip our cap to what Giannis is doing right now, because he is. I don't know what the next few years are going to look like, whether he will be a Buck full-time in that, but he's, gosh, don't take it for granted.
Right.
Don't take it. I don't care if you're not a big basketball fan or Bucks fan or NBA fan. It's remarkable what he's doing.
The thing, too, about Giannis is, like, his game is very old school.
Yeah.
When you factor it in. Like, he's not someone that's, very dependent on the three-point shot. Like, he's a guy that does put his head down and goes to the basket.
Mm-hmm.
And, will use his strength to,
Yep.
do what he has.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. So, and he's cut down on his attempts to try to be a three-point shooter. And then dude was 10 of 11 from the charity stripe last night, too. So, how about that? But, gosh, 35 or more and 20 assists. I mean, that's Scott Skiles numbers there. Nice.
Right, well, with the scoring in there, too.
Yeah, definitely.
Did he slap the floor Scott Skiles style?
That would be awesome if he did, but
He might put a hole in the floor.
he might
He's
have.
a big man.
Yeah. Staying with basketball here, but a quick note, a couple of Badger notes. First off, John Blackwell declaring for the NBA draft. However, he is also maintaining his college eligibility, which, yes, it's just like A.J. Storr last year, but the difference is Blackwell says if he does come back, it will be for Wisconsin.
Right.
Which, again, this is a way now for these players to get some feedback from NBA scouts. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stay in the draft. They can go through the process, get that feedback where these scouts will say, okay, this is where the area you need to focus on or get better at. And they come back to college and maybe that's what they do. Or if they find out, hey, you're going to be maybe a late second or not drafted at all. All right, got that feedback. I'm going to go back and try to get better for college. So, like, Greg Gard came out with a statement and Blackwell. I don't have a problem with this.
No.
I don't have. I hope he's back because selfishly I hope he's back. But I don't have a problem with this because he has that ability to come. Put yourself in a situation like that for anything where you could get some feedback of like, either have a chance to go pro
go to the big time.
Yep. Or I'm going to get some free feedback like how to get better from the experts. He'd be stupid not to at that point from an individual standpoint.
And instead, the big thing is he said, "Hey, if I ultimately end up coming back to college, it's going to be to Wisconsin."
Right, and that's the difference from A.J. Storr last year, where he said, "I'm going to go through the draft, but remain my college," and it felt like, okay, it's not going to be Wisconsin that he's coming back to, and now he's in the transfer portal again.
He's going to go 8 for 8.
yeah, that's ridiculous.
It is like, obviously, and I've kind of said my feeling that like I feel like. The kind of the transfer portal and NL stuff, like it'll look a lot different in like 5 years, not 5 minutes, but
yeah.
But to me, that should not be the intention. Like, I understand wanting like there being some freedom for kids, like as certain things arise and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. But like the idea to just hop to a different place every year, like to me, that's not the intention of what it should be.
Right, and then. Yesterday, also because it's transfer portal, the Badgers got somebody's coming home. From played at Virginia last year. Actually started off at St. Thomas.
Yes,
a little bit, but was it Andrew?
Andrew Road.
Andrew Road.
Andrew Road.
Andrew Road.
I forget if it's Road or Roadie, but I remember when I'd seen him, like that name sounds familiar. But then, he went to high school at Brookfield Central, I believe it was.
Yeah. So first off, went to St. Thomas, then he went to Virginia. Obviously, probably a Tony Bennett connection with the Wisconsin, but he's going to Wisconsin now, coming through the transfer portal, and he had a solid year last year, just a little under 10 points per game at Virginia. And Virginia, I think, you look at it with what happened, Tony Bennett.
Stepping down at the beginning of the year, like that just was not a good year for him.
Right, exactly. So I think this is a solid pickup. I mean, he's a taller guard too, 6'4".
6'6", I think 6'5", whatever it is. But like he's got some length to him. He said he's like a 40% shooter from three. Like he can, I think a lefty, so you get another lefty look in there. Which I don't know, the aesthetic of a lefty bombing from three to me has always been a beautiful one when you see that. But
6'6", you are right.
Okay,
so
6'6", I mean, a guy, but just a team. This is a team that depending on based on what we know right now, and obviously we know that can always change, but like it looks like a team that's going to have some length next year.
Yeah, And this is a guy with starting experience, and I know the ACC was down, but still, that's big-time conference college basketball play that he's got experience coming in. So,
So, no, it's a good get.
I think it's a really good get for Wisconsin. I'm definitely intrigued, and it's good to see, coming back to the state, coming back to Wisconsin. So, but you're right. And if Blackwell does come back next year, they definitely do have some length. It's a little disappointing with the Daniel Freitag stuff. I feel like there's more to this, Brandon, because in the tournament, I mean, he kept talking like, yeah, if they want me, I'm here. But then it seems like they didn't call him after the season or talk to him, and he kind of took offense to it or got ghosted or something, and that's why he's leaving. So I feel like there's more to this.
Right.
But it's definitely a weird 180 where, last year we were like, okay, let's hold on to this guy. He might have to play right away. And then we didn't get to see him a whole lot, but he kept saying, no, I'm here, and then gone.
Right.
Maybe it's money.
Maybe, but also, also you take him at his word, like it's possible. Like maybe, he just, because he didn't play a lot, so maybe there just wasn't the improvement there, and maybe the team just kind of felt like, okay, you might not play next year either. I mean, we don't know.
Right.
Like, we've gotten one end of it, and we're probably not going to really get the other end of it because a team's not going to come out and usually say that. Say like, well, we we weren't interested, or no, that's a bold-faced lie. Which chances are the truth lies somewhere in the middle. It's not. Right. I don't think it's either or. Right. But that's just kind of kind of the state of the game right now, where it's just like it's gonna be a little bit it's gonna be a little bit tougher to get excited about like just recruiting in general, which I tend to kind of take with a grain of salt anyway because of how much things can move. But I mean, look at the last few years between Freitag and then earlier Gus Yeldon. Yeah, two guys who were high profile recruits. They were like, hey, these guys are coming to Wisconsin, and obviously one lasts a little bit longer than the other, but both guys are already going to be gone. Yeah,
the way you kind of said that too, like. Are we gonna? Is the mindset gonna change where maybe we shouldn't focus on recruiting so much more and like the recruiting ranks and the classes and all that? It's transfer portal. Maybe now. Like who's got the best transfer portal ranking and such or class? Is that where? I mean, because you got guys who they're committed, but if they don't play, then they're gone. So why should we get all hyped up about recruiting classes anymore?
Right. Because either you're playing right away, and if you play right away, you might stay, but also you might play right away and then opt to go somewhere else.
Yeah, because you might surprise, like, I could cash in elsewhere.
I'm going to say it's going to be a lot tougher to have a situation like the Badgers had with Frank Kaminsky.
Yeah.
Where he just had a couple years where he didn't play much and he just developed, and then he became a National Player of the Year. Like, that's just... It can still happen because, we just don't know each individual player's mindset. There might be people who are fine doing that. Mm-hmm. It's just that I think it's going to be rarer.
Right. Yeah. Definitely, and I think don't think we have the full picture yet.
No, and I don't think how it is right now is going to be how it is in like 5 years. I think eventually you're going to find some ways to get a little bit more, maybe restrictive is not the right word, but just like to make it not so wide open like it is right now. Mm-hmm. But we're just not there yet because we're still relatively early into this, wide open transfer portal / NIL era.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then you mentioned that too. I mean, they got a couple Australian kids coming. I mean, that's heights and some pro experience too. So I'm intrigued.
It's interesting.
I'm definitely intrigued on how this is all going to work out. So